So we represent musicians on city, state, and federal policy, but since the pandemic, we also had to expand to meet the most basic needs of our music community.
I was saying, can you tell me right now, obviously prices are going up with houses and rent across the area. How is that impacting musicians here?
Well, it was already impacting us, but now, with the recent hikes, it's almost unmanageable. And so we're seeing so many of our musicians having to move out of the city. And when that happens, what happens to the live music capital of the world that brings so many businesses in because of that brand?
I was saying, how are you guys, trying to figure out with, the city or whatever to support these musicians when they're trying to stay here and some just can't?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a game of chess, really, and so we have to look at what's available on the table and work with that. And one of the great things we're working with right now is called the Creative Spaces Bond, and this is an initiative. This was a bond that was voted on in 2017 to start to create these hubs with performance space, rehearsal space, and we hope living space. Now in Texas, you can't designate affordable housing for a specific trade group, but there's a loophole there. If you create these live-work hubs, you can create that opportunity for musicians to have affordable housing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you give other examples like the live-work hubs?
Sure. Yeah, there's a great example in New Orleans with the Ellis Marcellus Musicians Village. I know some other cities like New York and Boston have done this model successfully. So there's precedent out there to do this. The great thing that we have working now is something brand new to Austin. It's called the Austin Economic Development Corporation. And this is a little bit different than a city's economic development department. Okay, the Economic Development Corporation allows public-private partnership. And so they have what's now called a cultural trust, and their whole purpose is simply to purchase real estate and develop real estate that benefits our cultural economy, that benefits artists and musicians. The Cultural Trust is going to be administering this Creative Spaces Bond, but that's just scratching the surface. There's so many things that need to happen to develop affordable housing for musicians. Now, one of the brand new things on the table is the development over at 200 Academy, where council just voted to lift the density requirement on that lot and bring back the old Austin Opera House. And of course, the only reason we showed up to council to support that move is that if there's a new development there on that parking lot, we want to see at least 10% affordable housing for musicians. There is a groundswell of support from the dais at council for any new development in town to include affordable housing units. So just as we found, it's a matter of showing up and speaking up and asking for what we want, and then working with the people to make sure that we get some follow through on these things.
I was going to say, I feel like it's hard probably both for new musicians coming here trying to get their start and also probably musicians who have been here for decades who are still trying to support themselves, maybe just on music or a part-time job.
Yeah, the great thing about Austin is that this is one of the greatest communities to make music in, and so we have amazing resources like there's Home, which is a nonprofit that supports housing for our elder musicians in the city. Of course, we have Ham and Sims that provide health care to our music community. But yeah, for new musicians coming into town, and they're still coming in the droves, we want to be here just to really make sure that they know that there's resources available to them and that Austin is still the best place to make music.
I was going to say, and I feel like just as citizens and as a city, we depend so much on musicians because without musicians, Austin's not Austin. So we depend so much on you guys. So it's like, do you feel like you're getting the support that you need?
That's exactly it. I think often musicians are not seen as a workforce, and that's exactly what we are. And when we showed up to vote on the hotel occupancy tax deal, we realized at that point that musicians actually make up the largest voting bloc in the city. So we're here in great numbers, and we just want people to understand that, you know, we're here to help, we're here to serve, we're here to give back as much as we get.
And do you think that, you know, if things keep getting more expensive and getting worse, do you think that would lead to more people being forced to move out of here?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, do we want to become a city that's just a lot of buildings and no soul? You know, it's very possible that that could be the way we're headed if things continue. But we have some great minds in the city who want to work on solutions, and so let's hope that we can get there sooner than later.
I was gonna say, you mentioned a couple things, but I guess what are the main things you would want to see happen soon that could help a little?
Yep. Yeah, I'll just say straight up, any new development that comes into town, we need to see some affordable housing units built in. We need to see support from all the new businesses and corporations coming into Austin. I've often found that they want to give back, but they don't know how to give back. So let's create those bridges where we can start to have those conversations.